being involved in public service?
Probably two former presidents. One is Dwight Eisenhower, who I thought is a very underrated leader in our nation. He was very consistent in his philosophy. He brought some great experience to the executive branch, and he tried to bring together coalitions. And the other one is Ronald Reagan, because Ronald Reagan always was extremely positive about the future and about what our vision was going to be for the future. And no matter what the circumstance was, he didn't complain about what the current state was. He always attempted to find a positive solution, and I try to follow that same lead as mayor of the city of Charlotte.
Mr. Mulhern?
I would say that one of the politicians I admire most, Nelson Rockefeller, because he did a great job building up the state of New York when he was governor and building a fantastic infrastructure in the World Trade Center, and that's something I admire, that someone that took a chance as a politician and went on to do great things for the state.
Mr. Castano, a little bit about community spirit, and Mr. Mulhern, we'll start with you. I'm curious about your 10-year vision for Charlotte. What is your 10-year vision for our community as we go forward?
I think the city is headed in the right track as far as attracting new people to the Charlotte, having better housing opportunities for dense, and the new arena downtown, I think, is going to spur a lot of the community spirit, and I like to see other things like that happen in Charlotte rather than moving to other communities. I think we can rally around the different things that the people of Charlotte want and have a real good sense that this is a nice, livable city and where people want to move to.
Okay. Mr. Mulhern, why should there be a change in the administration?
I think we need a change in administration because I'm not happy, and I think a lot of the citizens are, as far as the way the city is moving with the politics and the some of the policies that are set out. I think the citizens want more of a voice, and I think they want some creative alternatives to improve our environment and make Charlotte a better city.
What are they concerned about that they're not having a voice in?
I think one of the big concerns has to do with the environment, both ozone pollution and water pollution.
Usury tax.
Additional revenues?
Well, I think we might want to look at increasing some of the taxes on the people that are forcing our roads to be built, and perhaps a special SUV tax.
What about toll roads?
Toll roads are a great idea. I'm all for it.
Okay. Mr. Mulhern, 2 issues if you're elected?
I think the top issue I'd work on is the infrastructure to solve the problems we're having with the sewer system, water, and ozone pollution. And probably the second one would be a restructure of the city government to make it more responsive to the people.
When you're talking about infrastructure and water and sewer, what are you talking about specifically?
Currently there's a major problem in Charlotte, and a lot of money needs to be invested in our water system and the sewer to keep down the pollution of our creeks and streams. And I think that the investment has not taken place since we have taken the water and sewer out of the general budget and made it its own system. And we have to be more proactive in handling issues regarding pollution.
Okay. Mr. McCrory, Mulhern, response to that?
Well, somehow under the current leadership, we moved to the 8th worst city in the country for ozone pollution. So if that's the leadership people want, I think they need a change in that.
Let's talk, Mulhern. You've been a strong advocate for the environment based on what Mr. McCrory has described. Is it a different world that you're seeing in Mecklenburg County?
I think that we really need to take a regional approach to land use policies. 3 counties over, Duke Power has sold land on the various lakes, which are now polluting downstream on the Catawba. And I think that we really need to take maybe more of like a state view on how the environment and the watershed is going to hold out in the long term. I'm not so much concerned with where they're going to build the asphalt plant down the street. Really is, how is the state of North Carolina going to make out with Charlotte being the biggest city? We have to provide some leadership to all the counties in the region. So I think we have to take into account and work with everyone to come up with a grand policy for land use across, just to protect the environment.
Mr. Mulhern?
I think the arena is going to be a great benefit to Charlotte, and because it's going to bring the people together. It's going to make Charlotte a more livable city, but I think it's just one piece of the puzzle. I think we need more types of things like this. We're not just in the business of building roads. I think we're building a city for the people. You know, move the Montreal Expos to Charlotte, it will be the Charlotte Expos. I think things like that are what we should be trying to investigate and working with the private sector to accomplish.
The Mayor's Entrepreneur Council, where I'm trying to encourage small startup businesses to grow and become successful. And it's a partnership that's succeeding, but you can never rest on your laurels.
Mr. Mulherin?
I think the city needs to look at perhaps providing some incentives for some really small companies to get going here. I think we're looking at a lot of large companies, and I think we might be better off building from the ground up with maybe in conjunction with our schools, the North Carolina colleges, and start from the ground up and build some small businesses that make Charlotte their home for the long time to come.
What kind of incentives would you recommend?
I would say perhaps some tax rebates and some initiatives with working with our colleges and providing some talent to startup companies.
Along with the location of new schools, could really impact future growth and development in our community. Do you agree with that assessment? And if so, what would you do to make sure that we can balance growing and still quality of life and in land use?
I think the land use policies is very important. I think a lot of the community has to work together. There's various pieces. There's the county, there's the schools, and I think we have to all work together to create a system where we're not so reliant on the overburdened infrastructure that we already have. For example, placing schools where in an area that kids can walk to school or take their bikes. Right now, this is a big problem in Charlotte. You know, we've had busing problems in the past, but I think we all need to educate ourselves on how we work together on these policies and produce where we don't have to be so reliant on either mass transit or cars to get to where we're going.
Mr. McCrory?
Well, I'm just honored to have had the opportunity to be mayor of Charlotte during the past 8 years, and I'm asking for a 2-year extension. I'm very proud of the progress we've made during the 8 years in the areas of public safety and budget control and lowering our tax rate, in areas of economic development, jobs, and quality of life, but most of all, creating a vision for our future, for our children and our grandchildren. And I think Charlotte's one of the best cities in the United States of America because of leadership in the community, leadership in government, and leadership in the private sector. And I want to continue that great success that we've had and meet the challenges
Thank you, Mr.
ahead.
McCrory.
Thank you, David. I appreciate it.
Mr. Mulherin?
I would like to encourage the people of Charlotte to get involved in the government, and it's really doesn't have to be run just by politicians. We can engage in the process, and I would encourage them to look at the various candidates that are running for office, not but for mayor, but for all the council, and see where they stand on the issues, and to come out and participate and vote on September 23rd.